Hi, today I tell you Ariel's story on my topic related Arif's story did not end with that classroom speech. In many ways, it was just the beginning. After that day, he started noticing how often this forgetting game happened, not only to him, but also to the people around him. One afternoon, his classmate Sana raised her hand during English period. She wanted to share her thoughts about a poem they had read. Her eyes sparkled with ideas, but as soon as she began, she stumbled. A word slipped from her memory. She searched for it, waving her hands as if pulling the word out of the air. For a second, silence filled the room. Then she said, "It's like when the heart feels heavy but not sad." She used different words to paint the meaning. The teacher smiled and said, "Yes, Sana, you've explained it beautifully." Arif realized something then. Sometimes forgetting a word forces us to be more creative. Instead of giving up, Sana painted the picture with other colors, and the class understood her perfectly. Later, Arif asked her, "Did you feel nervous when you forgot?" She laughed softly. "Yes, for a moment. But then I remembered it's not about the exact word, it's about the feeling. If I can make people feel what I mean, that is enough." Her answer stayed with him. Communication was not about showing off big vocabulary. It was about reaching the heart of another person. That evening, Arif sat at his desk and wrote in his notebook, "Words may hide, but meaning stays. If you can share meaning, you are already speaking well." The following week, Arif discovered another lesson while helping his younger cousin Hamza. The little boy was only 10 years old and had just started learning English. He was excited but shy. When asked to say a sentence, Hamza often froze. His tongue would twist and he would giggle nervously. Arif decided to play a game with him. He pointed at objects around the room, a chair, a book, a lamp. "Say it in English," Arif encouraged. Hamza tried. Sometimes he got it right, sometimes he forgot. And when he forgot, he would describe it. "The thing we sit on," or "the thing with light." Arif laughed gently and said, "Yes, that's correct too. You're speaking English even without the exact word. That's clever." Hamza's eyes lit up. He felt proud. And Arif realized that forgetting is not weakness. It is a sign that the brain is learning to swim in new waters. One day in the library, Arif came across a book about famous inventors and leaders. To his surprise, even people who changed the world sometimes struggled with language. Winston Churchill, one of the greatest speakers in history, admitted that he sometimes forgot his lines and had to pause dramatically. But those pauses became part of his power. They made people listen more closely. Arif thought, if even great leaders can forget, why should I be afraid when it happens to me? He began to watch interviews of people who spoke English as a second language. Some of them were scientists, athletes, and artists. Many of them paused often. Some searched for words. Some made mistakes. But the world still listened to them because their message mattered more than their grammar. This gave Arif new courage. One evening, he joined a small English conversation club at a nearby community center. The room was filled with learners of all ages. Some were students like him, others were adults who needed English for work. The group sat in a circle, and the teacher asked them to introduce themselves. When it was Arif's turn, he started confidently, but halfway, once again, a word vanished. He stopped. His palms grew sweaty. He felt the old fear return. But then something surprising happened. The others smiled at him, nodding, waiting patiently. Nobody rushed him. Nobody judged him. The teacher said softly, "Take your time. Use another word." Arif stood in front of the class with his palms sweating. The classroom felt smaller than ever, though it was the same room he entered every day. The walls were lined with faded posters of famous writers, the alphabet in bold colors, and short quotes about learning. He had volunteered, well, half-volunteered, to speak about his favorite book. He thought it would be simple, just tell the class why he loved the old man and the sea. But the moment he opened his mouth, something strange happened. The first sentence came easily, like water flowing from a jug. But halfway through, one important word slipped away. It vanished as if someone had stolen it from his mind. He paused. His lips parted, but nothing came. He could almost see the word in the distance. It was hiding, just beyond reach. The more he chased it, the faster it seemed to run. His classmates stared at him, waiting. He felt his face grow hot. His heart thudded against his chest. The silence stretched. It felt like the longest silence in history. And then something unexpected. A thought from his teacher's earlier lesson came back to him. Even the best speakers pause. Pauses are natural. Pauses give power to your words. So Arif did something brave. He didn't panic. He didn't run from the silence. He smiled, took a slow breath, and reached for a different word. A simpler word. Maybe not the perfect word, but it worked. The class understood. His story continued. Later that night, lying on his bed with the ceiling fan spinning above, Arif thought about what had happened. Forgetting a word felt so terrible in the moment. But had anyone laughed? No. Had anyone called him a failure? No. His teacher had even nodded, as if proud of how he recovered. That pause had not been his end. It had been his beginning. This is not just Arif's story. It is the story of almost every learner. If you are learning English, you probably know this feeling too. You are in the middle of a conversation, everything is going well, and suddenly, blank. A word disappears. Your tongue feels heavy. Your brain feels like it is playing a cruel game. But forgetting words does not mean you are bad at English. It does not mean you will never improve. It means you are learning. It means your brain is stretching, reaching for something new. Think of a child learning to walk. They stumble, they fall. But every fall is proof they are moving forward. Every stumble is part of the dance. When Arif returned to school the next day, he carried himself differently, not with full confidence, but with a seed of courage. He greeted his friends in English, even if his sentences were short. He answered questions in class, even if he wasn't sure of every word. He began to practice more, not less, because he understood something important. Forgetting is not failure. Forgetting is training. He also discovered another secret. In the library, among the old shelves that smelled of paper and dust, he found stories that whispered new words into his mind. He picked up Alice in Wonderland and got lost in its strange adventures. He borrowed The Little Prince and found simple, beautiful sentences that stayed in his heart. Every book gave him more tools. Slowly, these tools began to appear when he spoke. One evening, Arif sat with his friend under a tree. The sun was low, painting the sky orange. They were speaking in English, practicing together. Suddenly, once again, Arif forgot a word. His mouth opened, but nothing came. This time he didn't freeze. He didn't panic. Instead, he described the word in another way. His friend tilted his head, thought for a moment, and then smiled. I understand you. That sentence, I understand you, was like music. It told Arif something powerful. Communication is not about perfect words, it is about connection. You don't need a dictionary in your mouth, you just need courage in your heart. As days turned into weeks, Arif noticed something else. The more he spoke, the less often words escaped him. Practice was like shining a light in a dark room. The shadows grew smaller each time. He even made mistakes on purpose, just to test himself. Sometimes he used the wrong word. Sometimes he laughed at himself. But every mistake taught him something new. He realized that forgetting words was not a wall blocking his path. It was a door he had to open again and again. Behind each door was progress. Behind each door was growth. And isn't that the truth for all of us? Great speakers, famous authors, even world leaders, they all forget words sometimes. They all stumble. They all pause. What makes them strong is not perfection, but persistence. Arif's journey is long, but it carries a lesson. If you forget words when you speak English, you are not alone. You are human. You are learning, and learning is always messy before it is beautiful. So the next time your mind goes blank, remember Arif in his classroom, standing tall despite the silence. Remember the old books whispering phrases into his memory. Remember the orange sky when his friend said, I understand you. Remember that every pause is a chance to breathe, and every forgotten word is an invitation to grow. Because your words are not lost, they are simply waiting. and with time they will always return to you. Arif breathed in, thought for a moment, and tried again. The meaning came out, and everyone clapped. That small clap was more powerful than any grade in school. It told him, "You belong here. Mistakes are welcome." After the session, an older man in the group approached him. His name was Imran, and he worked as a shopkeeper. He told Arif, "I used to fear speaking English because I always forget words. But one day I realized customers don't care about my grammar. They care if I can help them. That changed everything for me." Arif admired his wisdom. Sometimes lessons come from books, and sometimes they come from ordinary people who have lived through the same struggle. Days turned into weeks, and Arif kept practicing. He carried a small notebook everywhere he went. When he heard a new word, he wrote it down. When he forgot a word in conversation, he wrote that down too. Every night, before sleeping, he opened the notebook and reviewed. Slowly, the forgotten words started returning more quickly. One day, his teacher noticed his progress and asked him to help lead a small group discussion. Arif felt nervous, but he accepted. During the discussion, he forgot one word again, but this time he laughed, snapped his fingers, and said, "Oh, I lost the word, but let me explain it differently." Everyone laughed with him, not at him, and in that moment he realized something powerful. Confidence does not mean never forgetting. Confidence means forgetting and still moving forward. Another turning point came when Arif was asked to read a passage aloud from The Little Prince. He read slowly, carefully, but with feeling. Some words were difficult, but he didn't stop. Afterward, the teacher said, "Notice how Arif didn't rush. Notice how he paused. That's what makes reading beautiful." The class clapped again. Arif's chest swelled with quiet pride. He thought back to the first day when forgetting had felt like a disaster. Now it felt like just another step in the journey. At home, his mother noticed his growing confidence. She said, "I don't understand all the English you speak, but I see your courage. That matters more than anything." Her words warmed his heart. Support from family gave him strength to keep going. Sometimes, late at night, Arif would stand in front of the mirror and practice speaking to his reflection. He imagined himself giving speeches, telling stories, sharing ideas. He forgot words, yes, but he kept going, laughing at himself. The mirror became his silent friend, teaching him resilience. Arif's journey shows something universal. Forgetting words is not the end of communication. It is the beginning of creativity. Every learner faces it. Every learner grows from it. Whether you are a student in a classroom, a worker at a shop, or a traveler in a new land, forgetting words is part of the adventure. And perhaps the most important lesson is this: people care more about your story, your heart, your message, than the exact word you use. So if you, like Arif, forget words when you speak English, don't see it as failure. See it as proof that you are on the path. Proof that your brain is alive, stretching, building, learning. Every forgotten word today becomes a remembered word tomorrow, and every pause today becomes a sign of strength tomorrow. Arif's world kept expanding, and with it his understanding of what it really meant to forget words. He started noticing that even people who seemed perfect in English sometimes stumbled. At first, this shocked him. Then it inspired him. One day, his teacher played a video of a famous scientist giving a talk in English. The scientist had won international awards and traveled the world. But as he spoke, he paused often. Sometimes he searched for a word. Sometimes he replaced it with a simpler one. Yet the audience listened with shining eyes. Why? Because his ideas were more important than his pauses. His passion carried the message. After the video ended, the teacher asked, "Did you see how even great minds sometimes forget words?" The class nodded. The teacher smiled. "That is proof. It's not about never forgetting. It's about never giving up." Arif thought about this for days. If a world-famous scientist could pause, then maybe pausing was not weakness at all. It was strength. Later, Arif came across the story of Nelson Mandela. In prison, Mandela learned Afrikaans, the language of his jailers. He admitted that it was not easy. He stumbled often, sometimes forgetting words in the middle of a sentence. But he kept going because he knew that language was a bridge to the hearts of others. His effort, even with mistakes, built respect. Arif underlined a sentence from a book about Mandela. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is learning to walk forward even while fear walks beside you. He realized the same is true for speaking English. Courage is not about remembering every word. Courage is about speaking even when some words hide from you. Arif also began to notice forgetting in everyday life. One afternoon, he visited a small shop where a foreign tourist was trying to buy fruit. The tourist struggled with simple words. I want round, yellow. He pointed at bananas. The shopkeeper laughed kindly and said, "Banana, yes, banana." Both laughed, and the tourist left happy with his bag of fruit. Arif thought, see, even with broken English, even with forgotten words, the message was clear. The shopkeeper understood. The tourist succeeded. Another time, Arif was on a bus when two young boys tried to speak English for fun. They mixed English with their mother tongue, forgot half the sentences, and kept correcting each other. They laughed so much that everyone around them laughed too. Forgetting words turned into joy, not shame. At the conversation club, Arif asked the older man Imran how he dealt with forgetting. Imran said, "At my shop, sometimes I forget words when talking to foreign customers, but I've learned one trick. Use your hands, point, gesture, smile. Communication is bigger than vocabulary." Arif tried this the next time he was unsure. When speaking to a classmate, he used his hands to describe pouring water when he forgot the word. His classmate understood immediately. It felt almost like a game of charades. And Arif realized something new. Language is not only words. It is also expressions, movements, tone, and courage. Books continued to guide him as well. One evening he opened Alice in Wonderland again. A line caught his eye. "I don't know the meaning of half those long words, and I don't believe you do either." Arif laughed aloud. Even in stories, characters joked about big words. He thought, maybe English is not about collecting the longest words, but about using the ones you already know well. Another book, The Little Prince, taught him simplicity. Its sentences were short, yet powerful. Arif began to copy this style in his own speaking. Instead of searching for complex vocabulary, he used clear, simple phrases, and surprisingly, people understood him better. He wrote in his notebook, "Simple words spoken with heart are stronger than big words spoken with fear." One of Arif's teachers once told the class about J.K. Rowling, the author of Harry Potter. Before she became famous, Rowling worked as an English teacher in Portugal. Even she, a native speaker, admitted to forgetting words in her students' language. Yet she taught, learned, and kept going. Arif thought, if even writers, teachers, leaders, and scientists can stumble, then I should not be ashamed when I do the same. As weeks passed, Arif faced new challenges. During a school debate, he stood at the podium with dozens of eyes watching him. His voice trembled at first, but he steadied himself. Then, right in the middle of his strongest point, a word ran away again. Silence fell. The old fear crept back, but he remembered Sana's lesson. It's not about the exact word, it's about the feeling. So he painted the idea with other words. He described it slowly, carefully, until the judges nodded. The debate continued. When it ended, his team did not win first place, but Arif walked home taller, prouder, for he had faced forgetting and still finished strong. At home, he shared his experience with his father. His father said, "Son, in our language too, don't we sometimes forget words? Don't we sometimes pause to think? Why should English be different? Forgetting words is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign you are human." Those words sank deep. Arif realized that even in his mother tongue, he sometimes paused to search for the right phrase. Everyone does, but no one calls it failure. Why then should forgetting in English be treated differently? Arif began sharing these lessons with others. When his friends felt nervous about speaking, he told them stories about Sana, about Hamza, about Imran the shopkeeper, about the tourist with the bananas. Each story reminded them that forgetting is part of learning. One of his friends, Bilal, confessed, "I avoid speaking English because I forget too many words." Arif replied, "Then you are closer to learning than you think. Every forgotten word today is one more reason to practice tomorrow." Bilal hesitated. "But what if people laugh?" Arif smiled gently. "Then laugh with them. That way the fear disappears." Slowly, Arif began to see forgetting not as an enemy, but as a teacher. Each time he forgot, he learned a new way to explain. Each pause taught him patience. Each mistake gave him courage. He thought back to his first speech about the old man and the sea. The silence had felt like the end of the world, but now he saw it differently. That silence was the moment his journey began. And isn't that how all journeys start? With a stumble, a pause, a forgotten step, yet each step brings us closer to where we want to be. So, do you forget words when you speak English? Arif would say, "Good. That means you are learning. That means you are alive. That means your journey has begun." Arif's story had already taught him many lessons, but one final truth remained. Forgetting words was not just about language, it was about life. One morning, while walking to school, he saw a painter working on a wall mural. The painter dipped his brush into colors, sometimes painting bold strokes, sometimes stopping to think. At one point, the painter dropped his brush. He picked it up, smiled, and continued as if nothing had happened. Arif thought, speaking English is like painting. Sometimes you forget a word, like dropping a brush, but you simply pick it up again and keep creating. That image stayed with him. Language, like art, is not about perfection. It is about expression. In class, his teacher gave the students an unusual task. Write about the most embarrassing moment in your English journey. The class laughed nervously. Some didn't want to share, but slowly the stories came out. One boy wrote about saying kitchen when he meant chicken. The whole class had laughed that day. At first he felt ashamed, but now he could laugh too. A girl wrote about calling her teacher Mom by mistake. Everyone giggled, but the teacher had hugged her and said, "Don't worry, many students do that." As the stories unfolded, something magical happened. The classroom filled with laughter, not shame. Everyone realized that mistakes and forgotten words connected them. They were not barriers, they were bridges. Arif wrote about his frozen moment during the old man and the sea. When he read his story aloud, he felt his cheeks burn again. But this time, instead of silence, the room filled with applause. His classmates clapped because they saw themselves in his story. And that was when Arif fully understood. Forgetting words makes us human, and sharing that struggle makes us stronger together. Outside the classroom, Arif kept practicing. He spoke to strangers in shops, to bus drivers, to friends on the phone. He made mistakes daily, but instead of hiding, he collected those mistakes like treasures. Each one was proof of progress. At the library, he discovered another powerful idea in a book about public speaking. The audience never knows what you plan to say. They only hear what you actually say. That thought lifted a weight from his shoulders. If he forgot a word and replaced it, nobody would know. They only knew the story he gave them, and that was enough. Months later, Arif stood once again at the front of his classroom, this time for a bigger challenge, the annual storytelling competition. He held his notes loosely in his hand, though he barely looked at them. His voice carried across the room with more confidence than before. Halfway through, as always, a word slipped away. A younger version of Arif might have panicked, but this Arif paused, smiled, and said, "Ah, the word has run away from me. Let me tell it another way." The audience laughed warmly. The story continued. When he finished, the applause filled his ears. He didn't win first prize, but that didn't matter. For Arif, victory was standing tall, forgetting a word, and still finishing his story. From that day, he began helping other learners face their fears. He told them, "Forgetting words is normal. Even in your own language, it happens. Confidence is stronger than vocabulary. People remember your smile and your courage more than your missing word. Simple words are powerful. You don't need complicated sentences to touch hearts. Practice is the real secret. The more you speak, the fewer words will escape you. Connection matters most. Communication is about meaning, not perfection." His words encouraged others, just as Sana, Hamza, and Imran had encouraged him. One evening, as Arif sat with his notebook, he looked back at the journey he had taken. From a nervous boy who froze in silence, he had grown into a young man who saw forgetting not as failure, but as progress. He realized that learning English was not only about grammar and vocabulary, it was about courage, resilience, and connection. He thought of the books he had read, Alice in Wonderland, reminding him to laugh at strange words, The Little Prince, reminding him of the beauty of simplicity, The Old Man and the Sea, reminding him of persistence. Each book had given him a piece of the puzzle, and he thought of the people. Sana, who showed creativity in forgetting. Hamza, who taught that describing is still speaking. Imran, who proved that gestures and kindness bridge gaps. His classmates, who turned embarrassment into laughter. Each person had been a chapter in his journey. So if you forget words when you speak English, remember this. You are not alone. Arif forgets. Sana forgets. Even great scientists, leaders, and writers forget. Forgetting is not the enemy. Fear is the enemy, and courage is the cure. When the word runs away, don't chase it with panic. Let it go. Use another word. Use your hands. Use your smile. The message will still reach the heart. Every pause is a chance to breathe. Every mistake is proof of growth. Every forgotten word is an invitation to try again. Because learning English, or any language, is like walking through a forest. Sometimes the path is clear. Sometimes you trip on a root. Sometimes you lose your way. But every step takes you deeper into the beauty of the forest. And when you look back, you will see how far you have come. Arif's story is your story too. He began as a boy who froze in silence. He grew into someone who spoke with courage, even when words slipped away. And you can do the same. So the next time you forget a word, don't see it as failure. See it as progress. See it as proof that you are alive, learning, and moving forward. And one day you will look back and say, yes, I forgot words, but I never forgot to keep speaking. Do you forget words when you speak English? Good. That means you are learning. That means you are brave enough to try. That means you are closer than you think to fluency. So keep speaking, keep practicing, keep smiling. Your words are not lost. They are waiting for you. And with time, they will always find their way back.